be a fire.
Okay, thanks.
The Beekeeper, it's Jason Statham's latest action flick. And since I literally just watched Echo, it came across as a masterpiece compared to the few hours I spent watching Maya Lopez on Disney+. It's directed by David Ayer, and, well, this isn't one of his best. It's kind of a sloppy Frankenstein monster of a storyline and feels like a movie written in 1995 that got frozen with like a little note saying, do not produce until 2024. I have a lot of things to say about The Beekeeper, and I'll start with the good points. Jason Statham is in it. That's it. It's Jason Statham being a serious badass, and if you like predictable endless fight scenes and Jason Statham being Jason Statham, you'll love this movie. I kind of liken this movie to an attempt at creating a John Wick kind of a franchise where you have this underground elite group of people who are the biggest and baddest death-dealing human-wrecking machines around.
He was the one you sent to kill the fucking boogeyman.
But this is no John Wick. The screenplay feels like a mishmash of throwaway scenes from like 10 other action scripts that were glued together to make this one. If you take Jason Statham out of this movie, it would be a terribly acted, casted, produced movie that would probably have gone straight to streaming.
Well, that sucks.
For any actors out there who are not Caucasian, listen up. Let's face it, you will never get cast as a bad guy in modern day Hollywood. And this movie goes the extra mile to make sure that the casting choices have the right people playing the FBI and the rest of the good guys.
I don't want to be the bad guy.
I can't be the bad guy.
It gets tiring, and I know actors here in Hollywood personally that are frustrated by a casting system that ensures the right people are chosen to play the bad people. Virtually all of the characters in this movie come across as stereotypical cartoon caricatures, and the problem is they're more annoying than they are menacing. It's almost comical, and because of that, they feel less like villains and more like clowns placed in the movie to add levity, only to become punching bags for Jason Statham's character, Adam Clay. It's a revenge-based action movie that never really gives you any great payoffs like the first John Wick did, but that was an amazing script and very focused storyline. The Beekeeper's plot is kind of all over the place and leaves you confused and bewildered at how the story develops and the direction it ultimately goes in.
I think Kenny likes it.
I won't tell you what happened so I don't ruin the ending, but it was a little much and it felt as though this script was really reaching too far. I also found it unbelievable that the Beekeeper would be allowed to just retire and disappear back into the everyday world. In John Wick, an assassin was never really allowed to leave, except for extreme circumstances. That way it felt a little bit more believable. The dialogue was primarily two things. It was either an exposition dump with Jeremy Irons giving us a big long one right in the middle, telling us all about the Beekeeper and how no one can defeat him, kind of takes away all the tension. And then there were the endless parade of one-liners that drown you in lines that tell us how much of a badass Jason Statham's character is. It's over-the-top action that gives serious plot armor to Jason Statham's character, making you feel almost numb to the endless one-sided fights that ultimately become predictable and somewhat cliched.
Who left the fridge open?
Even 24 highly trained Navy SEALs were no match for our Beekeeper, and as long as anyone with a gun or automatic rifle was off camera, they weren't allowed to shoot. But hey, that's what these kinds of movies are all about.
That doesn't make sense.
On the whole, this was a pretty cheesy movie, only made palatable by an A-list actor who has the innate acting ability and style to hold an audience's attention. But Jason Statham only had to practice one facial expression to nail this role, and he did that really well, along with his ability to project incredible intensity in all of his fight scenes that show extremely well up on the big screen. Basically, you have to be a Jason Statham fan to really enjoy this movie, or just love fight-filled action drama genre. The scene transitions are somewhat sloppy, with a storyline that makes you roll your eyes at times. It also felt like the casting wasn't that great as well. It had a parade of actors playing roles that basically checked a lot of boxes, just as most Hollywood movies do today. There are also some cringe scenes where you weren't sure if you should shake your head and roll your eyes or just giggle at the pure over-the-top character and what happens in the scene. Specifically when Beekeeper number 2 comes after Jason Statham at the gas station. I mean, it's such a crazy scene that you have to believe that David Ayer put it in deliberately for its sheer maniac character and the things that she does. You know, it's actually kind of funny. In every Jason Statham movie, I never referred to him by his character's name, only by his real name. But that probably shows how much of a presence and attention stealer he can be on camera. Overall, The Beekeeper has to be taken as mindless fun. It's a pretty bad script that relies exclusively on Jason Statham and the action-filled fight scenes. There really is no character development, and most of the characters are pretty lame, with inconsequential dialogue and mostly forgettable performances. It's the kind of movie where you aren't sure if you should hate it or like it. There will be a scene that convinces you that it sucks. But then there's one that flips you back to a confused state, chuckling at something that just happened. This is one of those rare movies that is going to get 2 different scores from me because it's just that perplexing. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving The Beekeeper a score of 6.5. Take Jason Statham out of it, and it's a solid 4 out of 10. And that's all I got. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you at our next video.